All righty. Hi, and good morning, and good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Chuck Gillespie. I'm the CEO of the National Wellness Institute, and welcome to our, I think, fourth or fifth installment of Reimagining Wellness. Really having a lot of fun with these, and at the same time, giving a little bit of information and some insight into what's going on in this wonderful world we call COVID-19. Hopefully we will be looking at some really interesting conversation today. I know when Brent and I get on the phone together, it's always really interesting. But at the same time, now that we have public folks, we have to be a little more cautious of our conversation. Don't you agree with that, Brent?
Oh, let's let it fly, Chuck.
Sounds good, my friend.
All right.
Sounds real good. So, hey, I'll start off with just a couple of things. Again, remember, one of the things that we've really got to make sure that we're thinking through is simple words that can shift your messaging to a very positive message. One of my favorites I recently heard literally this morning, somebody said, let's replace the word fear with curiosity. And I think that's one of the best things. We've used the term curiosity a lot here in the last 6 months within the National Wellness Institute. It really is what we're doing. And that's really much more of a learning and growth zone mode than that fear word. And just a few simple changes like what we use, social connection versus social isolation. Those are some great ways to get that positives. One of my all-time favorites was always when I heard, let's use the term yes if rather than no because. You're coming up with the same answer to the question. If somebody asks you something and you can say, no, because we can't do that because it's the law. Or we could say, yes, we could do that if we change the law. It's the exact same conversation. It's just a much more positive version, and then you can actually create a much more robust conversation going forward. So I love having to see the fact that we need to change our vocabulary to change our perspectives. And within the chat group, would love to see a few more things. And I do love the word curiosity, Rona, as well. So I'm glad to see you're here. Janet, Bloomington, Indiana, just down the street from me. I'll just say it this way, Janet, boiler up. As you know, we have always been very much having the same poll question that we ask each and every time. And I think it's a very important question that we should ask each and every time. And that question is, where are you in the growth zone? So I've just put up the poll and would love to see where you are. And as just a reminder, you can look at the slide. We're kind of in that fear zone, learning zone, and growth zone. I can tell you for me personally right now, I have definitely moved probably more and more away from being in the learning and growth zone and really spending a lot of my time now in that growth zone. Really finding a lot of things moving forward. Working on working on some great opportunities that and including this one that we're going to be talking about today. And I'm really excited about where things can go and how we as wellness champions can help actually define this new normal going forward and what that looks like. And we've got to do that. And that's what I get excited about. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's that hope. And that's that piece that we really got to keep moving. So let's kind of be working through that. Really excited to see this. This is the first time we have not had anybody in the fear zone, or at least haven't put themselves in the fear zone. Still have a few people in the half fear and half growth, and I totally respect that, especially if you're living in some of the bigger areas or some of the areas that we're still seeing a few hot spots in. But let me tell you something. The numbers are changing, and that's really exciting. And I think we're all seeing a little bit of hope, and really excited about where things are going. Let me see if I can share these results. There we go. I have shared them. Let me see, make sure that you can see them. Again, 11% in the learning zone, 20% in the growth zone, 25% in the growth zone. That's definitely the largest number we've had in the growth zone. Continuing to be the largest is the half learning, half growth. Guess what? That's where we're going to spend most of our time in life, whether or not it's, during a health pandemic or not. But I'm really excited to see these numbers. It really tells me that we're starting to kind of, view this as opportunity moving forward, while we still have to make sure we're doing what's right moving forward as well. So that's awesome. Glad to hear it. Looking forward to seeing where we are the next wellnessing event here. All right. One of the things that, again, one of the things we're going to be talking a lot about today is this concept of financial wellness. I've always loved this term. It's a term that I have really it's probably one of the most important factors that we deal with each and every day, because let's face it, when you look at the number one health risk in the workplace, even before COVID-19, it was stress. And the number one stressor, according to the American Psychological Association, is money. So when we talk about these things, when you start to throw a health and economic pandemic on top of, something that's already in a strained relationship, let's say it that way, it is very difficult to really understand how something like what we're going through today manifests this even that much more. Now we're dealing with things like job insecurity or job loss altogether. We're looking at things that are moving towards how we make sure that we understand where we can budget, where we have to cut back, or do we have to cut back, where we need to invest, where we need to be doing these things. And it's such a critical point. And I think it's very important enough that we brought Brent Hines on today to have a little bit of a conversation around this. And one of the things that we want to talk about are, what do those 5 essentials look like? So Brent, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and then we'll just jump into a little bit of the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you, everyone, for joining. That's so exciting to see all those smiling faces and see some friends' names and faces out there. So happy to be with you.
A couple of enemies too, Brent. I mean, you ought to see the chat room. I mean, they're blowing up on the enemy side of this for you.
Good. I feel right at home then. I was uncomfortable until you said that. So I act as the executive director. I'm one of the co-founders of the Foundation for Financial Wellness. We're a 501c3. My background is in financial services. I half joke that I'm a recovering financial advisor from 12 years ago. Our start actually began in the financial literacy movement. If you can think back to 12 to 15 years ago, financial literacy really got legs. It was a hot topic. People were looking for ways to access unbiased, non-solicitous financial literacy, which unfortunately was nearly impossible. If you got anything that resembled financial literacy, it seemed to always have a spin, always have a bias, or at the end, there was some kind of hook to sell you the financial product du jour, or come to my office and, let's talk kind of thing. So we began just doing teachings, and we would go to individual employers and say, here's our business model, here's what we're doing. But all we had at the time was really, hey, Scouts Honor, we won't try to sell or solicit or promote or endorse any kind of financial product. And kind of a sad state of affairs of our current society, but just the fact that we would actually go do that and keep our word made us different. And we began being invited into a lot of places and a ton of success. The story that I tell all the time, if you've heard it, I promise I'll give a very short version here, Chuck. We talked our way, of all places, into Johnson Space Center, NASA. And if you can think back to the time, it was the new Obama administration, and they had announced that they were going to do away with the space shuttle program. So there was a lot of unknowns and a lot of stress, a little bit of chaos on site at the space centers. So we happened to be down in the Houston area, began doing our classes. All of our classes have always been geared towards and built really on the foundation of behavioral economics. So that is some serious geekdom study, if that's not your thing. Those of us from the world of finance, I love to nerd out on the behavioral economics. It's really the intersection of us as human beings, what we do with what we know with finance, which really goes to that old filter of be, do, have. And we took a be, do, have approach to teaching financial literacy. And we were teaching inside of NASA. We were teaching through their wellness program, their HR department, the EAP, and then also the Texas Workforce Commission. And the very first class we taught through their wellness program was promoted and delivered and coordinated by a lady inside of NASA. Her name's Karen. Karen ran that program. She made all the trains run on time. She's literally a rocket scientist. I joke she has degrees in things I can't pronounce. And she sat in that first class and listened to our approach of the intersection of behavior with financial education, the behavioral economics. And she had this epiphany. She almost form tackled me in the hallway after that first class and said, do you know what you're talking about? Like, why aren't you building this on a wellness chassis? Those are her exact words. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this lady's crazy. What is a wellness chassis and how do I get out of those gates? Because I don't belong here with all these rocket scientists. So she began volunteering her time, Chuck, in educating us on the the science of behavior change and behavior change modeling and introducing adult learning theory. And if it was purely about education, go to a library, go to a class, go to the internet, download that information. If it was that simple, we wouldn't have a need for financial literacy courses. So there's something more to it. And we began re-gearing our courses with her help so that it was built on a wellness chassis. And we began using the terminology financial wellness. I believe it was in 2009, 2010. No one was using the terminology yet. We were way too early. And it was because Karen knew what she was talking about, but the market really wasn't ready for it yet. And lo and behold, you fast forward, we have a relationship with the National Wellness Institute today. We have classes online, in person, at the work site, various topics. And here we are hitting this, this pandemic and lockdown and economic downturn. We're going at it together, Chuck, the National Wellness Institute and the Foundation for Financial Wellness. It's crazy how things happen, but honestly, we couldn't be more happy with the relationship and people's interests now. And I know a lot of people out there today are probably listening from two different positions. One, as an individual, what might you take away and be able to improve in your own personal financial well-being? And then two, many of the people logging in through the National Wellness Institute are leaders. Whether it's your team, your organization, maybe you're a consultant, you have a big voice, you have a microphone. And how can you take these concepts out to people and really serve, as well as possible?
Absolutely, Brent. And it has been fun to watch the evolution of financial wellness, going from literacy to understanding, that build out of what needs to be happening, now moving into what what you and I have been talking a lot about and what we continue to talk about within NWI, and that is the relationship you have with your money and the capabilities that you have. Almost, we're almost moving into this world from financial wellness to financial capabilities as well. Now, what's going to be interesting is as we come out of this health crisis and into, an unknown economic situation, what are some of the things that you're starting to see already, Brent, that, even from a worldwide perspective? We've got, Tracy from Auckland, New Zealand, that's on this phone call, and she's already in the future. So, she's already into Thursday. So we need to be talking way ahead of time. Like, we got to be talking by at least Friday so that we can talk to everybody on this call. So what are you seeing out there right now? What are some of the opportunities? What are some of the curiosity conversations that are happening?
It seems to be in times of crisis, global, local, personal, financial. It's times like this that bring us back to center. We don't necessarily like it that it's happening. If you think back to where you were on 9/11, there's a recalibration that's inevitable, and priorities, you're reminded of priorities, and there's a reset that happens. And you're like, wow, I was really out of alignment. I was with what I prioritize and my values and my behaviors. And now during this pandemic, the thing I'm seeing come up most often with the people who we partner with and the students inside of our classes is a return to basics, Chuck. Like, fundamentals are fundamentals and principles are principles. And oftentimes in strong economic cycles, we can get away with misbehaving. I joke like, yeah, during really good economic times as an entrepreneur, I'll just typically try to out earn my stupidity in my financial behaviors with the $4 coffees and the overpriced car that's depreciating as we speak, those things. And it's really not funny because, it always goes down to the behaviors. So in times of crisis, when we have this, whoa, I just had my cage rattled, we can almost always, I can't think of a scenario where going back to basics doesn't make sense. So basics being those things that we don't necessarily love to talk about or do, but we know it's part of an overall financially healthy way of being.
So Brent, that was a nice little softball pitch that I'm going to throw right back at you. So when you talk about the essentials that people need to be going back to, the basics, let's walk through, the 5 essentials that are right here on this slide that I have up front here. And let's just very high level talk about a little bit of what you want to be thinking about and what we need to be helping people understand as it results with budgeting, savings, and debt today and maybe 6 months and a year now.
Sure. So why don't I take you through these? Our 5. So our flagship course is called the 5 Essentials for Financial Wellness. And what we did is we boiled down these core principles that I mentioned earlier into, we refer to them as load-bearing truths about financial well-being. And they break out into 7 primary chapters. Chuck, I don't know, are you going to show the slide or are we just going to talk?
I thought I had it. I just saw that Lana, thank you, Lana, for letting me know that I hadn't shared. That was very mean of me.
There we go. So, so we go top to bottom, left to right. Thought barriers to financial wellness. We begin with the thinking. So back to that model of be, do, have. Most everything that we see inside of anything resembling financial education or financial literacy, and as I'm sure as many of you on the call today know, there are a lot of organizations referring to what they do as financial wellness. And it's a term being misused. It drives us crazy. But yet, I guess it's a good sign that, hey, this is a hot topic. Well, wellness, most everything having to do with finance goes straight to a be, do, have, goes straight to the have. So I want to have the knowledge. I want to have the skill sets. I want to have the financial product. And that's great. We'll get to the X's and O's of finance, but we have to take a step back and look at the behaviors. This is what Karen Myers from NASA really made us aware of, was that, winning at money is almost always in the behaviors. So if we want to understand those behaviors, though, just talking about change in behavior normally doesn't get it done unless you were ready to make a behavior change. Karen would be proud of me for that on our behavior change modeling. We need to take one more step back, and we need to look at the being. So a be, do, have. And it's those 6 inches between our ears. And there is so much of what we believe to be true, or default mechanisms. We call them oftentimes blind spots about money. So beginning there is critically important to lay the foundation to build the behaviors and then build the X's and O's of finance on top of. So thought barriers to financial wellness. What might be in our way today in terms of, we call it head trash, the head trash around money, which most of those scripts, tapes, records, as a psychologist would call it, were given to us. We inherited those from our authoritative figures at a young age. We move from there into essential number 1. And these are the things that most people think of when we talk about financial wellness, budgeting, savings, and debt. But we want to apply what our beliefs about those things so that we're a higher likelihood of actually implementing and then making healthy behavior change in those. So budgeting tends to be like a dirty word. We joke and call it the B word. It doesn't have to be that. So there's a shift in thinking about what is a budget, how can we build a budget, and what statistically, the highest likelihood of us implementing and changing a behavior with budgeting, with savings. What is money for? Is money to spend? Is money, is there a scarcity of money? Is money in abundance? Is money to give? Is money to hoard? Is money to invest? Is money on and on and on? And then debt, especially those of us that are here in the U.S. Guys, you know how poorly, I mean, we misbehave badly as individuals, families, communities, as a nation. And that's not a political statement. Both sides are guilty. We really don't pay attention to fundamentals. It becomes a blind spot. And there are some really well-known financial gurus out there whose name and faces you'd probably recognize, that when I see them get, they really come in hot on this topic, and it's almost judgmental and, finger pointing, looking down their nose kind of thing. And we've taught thousands of people in person and online, and you can just see the body language, Chuck. People seize up, like they almost go into that, rebellious child mindset of, well, I deserve the car, or stop telling me I shouldn't drink good coffee, or it's not productive. So do you want to be right, talking head, or do you want to help people make change? So that's our slant, if you will. Essential 2, investing. These are investing basics. What's a stock? What's a bond? What's a mutual fund? What's an annuity? Very, very, very basic level. Why investing? The power of compounding, markets, stocks, debt, domestic, international, etc. We then move further into essential 2, into investing specifically towards retirement. So saving for retirement and planning for our retirement income. Inside of there comes some concepts and some planning around inflation, future budgets, vision casting, taxes in the future, etc. We move into essential 3, risk. So we break down in the world of financial planning, the 4 primary risks that are talked about on a personal level would be protecting my assets. What if something were to happen and I were to come under, mitigating liability? So protecting my assets. 2, what if something were to happen to me and I were not able to work? So the idea and the concepts around protecting your income. So short-term and long-term disability. 3, what would happen if I were to die younger than statistics say I should, or younger than I was planning on? So protecting your loved ones and those you care about if something were to happen to you early. And then 4, the big one really is, what if I need any form of long-term care at some point in life? And those of us that have been around long enough have probably experienced, first or second hand at least, a loved one who has needed help as they age, typically, sometimes earlier, unfortunately, and the costs associated with an event that's so likely to happen. If there's anything that we are putting our head in the sand, it's that one. That's not a pro or anti-insurance chapter. It's just calling it out, teaching on concept, and then helping you apply those concepts to what you currently have, if it comes through your employer or if you own it on your own. Essential 4, we talk about taxes. Believe it or not, Chuck, taxes is one of the most popular topics that we teach on. When you think about it, where else could you go and learn about taxes without being on the clock with a tax professional normally? So we talk about what are the basics of tax code. We use the analogy of buckets. Money is taxed in one of just a handful of ways. The types of income that comes in, taxes today and taxes in the future. So taking a tax-balanced approach, back to essential number 2, to our retirement income planning. And then last, essential number 5, is life and legacy. So all of those things, the X's and O's of estate planning, what's a will, what's a trust, what's a durable power of attorney, what's a medical power of attorney, what's an executor or a guardian, what's the difference? Are there potential conflicts of interest? Do I need a trust? I hear about estate taxes. It just goes on and on and on. We break all of those things out, teach them in a very basic, straightforward manner. And what we say here is look, we're not trying to get people leave our class as tax and estate planning experts, but hopefully what we're doing is we're arming you with the concepts and the right questions to ask. So the feedback we get from essential number 5 most often is, you made me feel comfortable and or confident enough to actually go have the conversation with my financial advisor or my CPA or my estate planning attorney that I had really been putting off because I was dreading it or was intimidated by it. Collectively, those are the 5 essentials I know they're broken out into 7 chapters, but 5 essentials with thought barriers being essential 0. We start there.
That helps a ton, Brent, and I greatly appreciate that. One of the things that we really do need to be thinking through, and again, it doesn't surprise me that tax is one of the most important, or one of the most asked about information.
Yeah, popular. Yeah.
Just because, let's face it, in the United States especially, the tax code's a little complex.
A little.
Yeah, just trying to be a little condescending too. But the point you look at is when we start to look at all of these pieces and all these factors together, this really does kind of build this whole conversation around how you build that relationship with money. And it goes back to, I think a slide that I was putting up, but I don't think anybody else really saw. And that was this concept of, 2 large Red Bulls and some nachos at the gas station every day, and they're wondering why they're broke. I make the standard joke, 37 times to Starbucks, and I guarantee you're not going to have a single dollar to your name. These are the kind of behaviors that we're really trying to get people to understand. We're not saying you don't do it. We're just saying make sure you understand what you're doing and how this is triggering future issues, correct?
Yes, all about intentionality. So not right, not wrong. When we start with the concept of aligning our vision, meaning vision and goals, with our values, and those align with our behaviors. Like that concept alone, goals, values, behaviors, with alignment of those 3, then we can get into intentionality. And there is no right or wrong. Like no one can tell you, Chuck, that your values they're your values, right, and they're your goals. So, but alignment and then being intentional in that alignment is powerful.
Absolutely. And again, that is, one of the things that we always talked a lot about was, when you look at what, when Gallup talks about their definition of financial wellness, it's this concept of living within your economic means. And that to me is such a great way of looking at it, just because, the happiest people, and again, this is Gallup data that is absolutely out there and available for anybody. Gallup's data will tell you that the happiest people on the planet are the people that live about 10% or more below their economic means. In other words, if they can afford $50,000 worth of living, they're actually living at about $45,000 worth of living. So about 10% below their means. And they are the happiest because, again, when we talk about that stressor, that monthly bill, that monthly mortgage, that monthly credit card debt, that monthly student loan debt. And then you also look out there at that leased BMW and the 38th cup of coffee from Starbucks and the eating out every for breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, and dinner. Yes, I created a word called dinner. These are definitely the things that we've got to be understanding. And this is where those triggers start to happen because, again, money is also a social interaction. It's a social connectivity because I know with my family, going out to dinner with friends, going out is kind of one of those things. And those are the things we have to kind of come. Kimberly Anderson, we have dinner often. Thank you, Kimberly. Sorry, I was watching the chat.
I would
there
agree.
for a second, Brent.
No. Everything you just mentioned, I felt like you were personally attacking me. It's so easy to do between the vehicle and the coffee and the eating out. Like those are 3 really biggies. And if we can challenge the mindset and have people really buy in, like just during this, truly, we do challenges. During this challenge, can we reset the thinking? Chuck, you started today's broadcast with that, changing the terminology because words are powerful, and it will begin to change our belief about, just as an example, a budget. So is a budget, do you grimace when you think about a budget and think in terms of that's restrictive? It's there to tell me no. it's there to tell me all the things I shouldn't do, like there's shame and judgment. And instead, a simple shift would be, what if we treated our budget the same way that we treat our calendar with time? So unless you're 100% commissioned, if you have an income that's predictable in any way, shape, or form, it's much like the same amount of hours in a day. And none of us, I would guess, would dare live a professional life, without a calendar. So if we treat the budget is to money what the calendar is to time, do you feel restricted by using your calendar? God, I feel naked when I don't have the calendar, and I have to remember, and I go off of what I'm feeling, and I go off of emotions or what I want to do. Chuck, I would never get on the phone with you if it weren't for my calendar. I don't want to do that.
You know what? I'm right there with you. I've even gotten, from a scheduling perspective, I've gotten to the point where I schedule walks with my dog. Now, he's not going to get a whole lot more, as I was saying earlier. He rolled in poop today, and I'm not happy. But the point you look at is it is awful, because I've gotten to that point. Now, I will say this, and I'm sure everybody on this call is in the same way. My calendar is pretty free right now in the next couple of weeks, and I will tell you, I'm getting more done because of it. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy of what's happening with regards to that. The other thing, Brent, that I've heard a lot of over the last probably 15 years is the ever famous eating healthy, and the fact that it's more expensive to eat healthy. Kind of walk through a little bit. I mean, I'm sure you've kind of heard a lot of that same kind of conversations too, Brent.
I'm sorry. So the question in terms of eating healthy, how that relates?
I can't eat healthy because I can't afford to eat healthy.
Right, and it turns into the chicken or the egg. So
right.
I would say this, and I wish I'm forgetting the name right now. I'll send it to you, Chuck, if you want to broadcast it out. The quote is, "It is easier to act our way into healthy thinking than it is to think our way into healthy acting."
I love that.
So there is a component of, dang it, Nike, they got it. Just do it. Begin doing. So another cliche, but oftentimes perfection is the enemy of progress, or is the enemy of done, or of change. So once I get that budget just right, or the budgets don't work because I know there's going to be no, doing something is better than not. So getting ready to get ready rarely works. So acting our way into healthy thinking. If I waited until I felt like working out, I would never work out. That's just me. There's some people
right.
who love it and look forward to it, but I don't. So, but as soon as I get there and start exercising, and as soon as I'm done, how happy are you that you did it? And then once you begin developing, the kids are home now. We have teenagers. We are eating, and we're stuck at home. So not spending money on the lunches or on the dinners or the dinners. And the Starbucks, sorry, Starbucks, I didn't mean to be an anti-Starbucks, but that's one of my weaknesses. Driving by, I love to grab a Starbucks on the drive to my next appointment or to the office. And it didn't take long for me to realize I love how it feels breaking bad habits. And that's a belief that I'm keeping out in the open in front of me right now.
That's great. And one of the things, what is interesting, and again, we're seeing it big time in the chat feature right now. And my comment, it is funny because eating healthy is actually a cheaper way to do it. It's not as convenient. And if you're trying to say, going through a fast food restaurant versus buying something, that's much healthier, if you're trying to mix those two together, but eating at home, eating groceries, I know that, I'll say it this way. Our family has definitely has been eating much healthier because we are eating at home more than we have been prior to, this detention.
You bet. And it goes back to that idea earlier about beliefs or defaults that may not be true. So is eating healthier really more expensive? or is that a belief that I've chosen to adopt?
Yeah, and it really is a belief, and it goes right back to that life and legacy philosophy, or it really goes into the budgeting, savings, and debt side of things. It's like, let's really think about it from the right perspective, but let's look at it from the whole perspective, not just this one piece of it. And that's one of the struggles that the wellness crowd has been fighting for years. Is we don't want fitness is very important. It's a critical factor, but it's one of the many factors of an overall wellness initiative. We don't like the carpet cleaning folks calling themselves wellness. But at the same time, it's the same problem we're running into with financial wellness, and everybody's grabbing it, whether you are, selling annuities, or you're selling, I don't know, you're a bookie. So, selling
right.
books. Just kidding.
I saw a message from our friend and colleague Bob Boyd in Australia, and he was saying that in Australia, wellness really became well-known, mainstream around 1990, but then got hijacked, just like you were saying. And I would say that we are experiencing that. Our 1990 is 2020 with financial wellness. It absolutely is being hijacked. I'm not suggesting we go over-regulate it, but like just awareness of, hey, Chuck, are you and I the only ones that have financial wellness cornered? No. However, like when we say financial wellness, do we really mean financial wellness? When NWI first reached out to us a couple of years ago, you guys were kicking the tires on everyone calling themselves financial wellness, looking for a partner, and for good reason. And it's not that people might be calling something financial wellness and it's not, so that makes them criminal. No, it just means it's not financial wellness. So built on that wellness chassis, as our rocket scientist said from NASA, when Karen's like, no, it's about behavior change modeling. Oh, and she said this, there is, Brent, I can give you the data so that you can go make an argument, even to the CFO perhaps, that paying attention to your people's financial well-being, has a positive financial impact to profitability, to the bottom line.
It's massive. It's absolutely massive. So, all right, Brent, one of the things that we wanted to introduce everybody to today was this idea, and I said we were going to have a big announcement going on right now. And so one of the things that we have worked with Brent and the Foundation for Financial Wellness on is we are going to offer the 5 Essentials for Financial Wellness, a $285 value, free for the next 60 days, or 30 days, I'm sorry, till the end of May. I am really excited and could not be more pleased with the conversations that we're having with Brent with regards to this. So Brent, tell us a little bit about what they're going to learn in this session.
Yeah, this was this crossed my mind a couple of weeks ago, and talk about head trash. I began saying, we can't do that. Like big companies can offer things for free and live through it. And I couldn't shake the thought. And I was almost afraid. Oh, by the way, guys, I mentioned Karen Myers, our rocket scientist from NASA. To finish the story, she lost all good judgment about 6 months after meeting us, put in her resignation at NASA, and now sits on our board and is our wellness program director. So yes, we have a rocket scientist on staff, which I love saying. So I was hesitant to bring it up to Karen, and I said, Karen, you might yell at me, you might just hang up on me, but here's what I'm thinking. And she said, no, actually, Brent, we absolutely can pull that off. We need to verify. Let's make sure we got everything buttoned up, infrastructure, technology, process, workflow, we can service it. So this is our flagship course, and we've been delivering it direct to employers and through different distribution channels since 2011, when we became a 501c3. And yeah, we are going to offer the 5 Essentials for Financial Wellness absolutely free of charge to anyone or any organization that believes that their people might benefit from participating in it, at least until we can come out the other side of this craziness. I think this is an opportunity for us, meaning that the foundation, and NWI to take a stand and do something really, really good. And I think it's going to be a pay it forward thing. It's not why we're doing it, but it's going to be. I'm just convinced. So we are as ready for you as we can be. Organizations, take it to your people. Individuals through NWI, you want to take advantage of it. Chuck's got the link down there. We actually we have built with the National Wellness Institute a certificate training program, financial wellness facilitator certificate course. And these 5 essentials are actually a component of that. So Chuck, I might be stepping on your line here, but you can expand on it, but that's where Chuck's coming up with this price point. You can take 5 essentials for free and move on with life and be better for it. Good luck, God bless. Or if you might be interested in NWI's facilitator certificate course, we will apply that towards that course, and it decreases the price of that certificate course during these 30 days as well. Did I do that justice?
Absolutely.
Chuck?
We will do that,
Okay.
and we've got it. I will tell you, we are figuring all that piece out, but it's probably going to cut the price probably about 40% or more for that certificate course. So it's definitely an amazing opportunity for everybody, and I cannot thank the Brent and the Foundation for Financial Wellness to team up with this on this. And here's the other thing, everyone. This is available for you to not only take yourself, but send it out to people. You know, we'll even take folks from Auckland, New Zealand, and Melbourne, Australia, and Abu Dhabi. I could not be more excited about what we're offering here. And without a doubt, you know, we're hoping within National Wellness Institute, we've got maybe 1 or 2 more surprises coming. But this one was definitely a huge one, something that Brent and I started kind of joking about 4 weeks ago. And the joke happened about 10 minutes, and because 10 minutes after we were joking about it, we were actually saying, this can happen. We can do this. So you got to love it. Sometimes that's the way it works.
Kayla asked a question I just picked up in the chat that's important. Is this for NWI members only, or can we offer this to our employees? No,
Free.
It's not just for NWI members. Free. Take it to your employees. Any organization that wants to make it available to their people, it's no charge.
Yep.
And by the way, in the classes, there's a counseling component at the end. It's built into the classes. We have, as NWI has seen for years now working with them, we have certified financial wellness counselors that will get on the phone and or screen shares like a Zoom with the participants after their class so they can ask their specific questions. The counseling is part of the course. So there's the education and there's the counseling. It's one of those, it's a no-brainer. Like, if this is something that applies to you, do it. Doesn't matter if you have a financial advisor or already have my estate planning stuff done. It doesn't matter. This is all about behavior-based financial wellness education.
Brent, quick question from Julie on the chat line. Do we offer workbooks and homework? Could you kind of maybe walk through just a brief idea of what this course kind of walks you through?
Yes. So if you want to download, all of that extra material in the form of a workbook, you absolutely can. If you're more of a kinesthetic, hard copy person, each chapter has their own set of homework, handouts, worksheets, calculators. We have all the formulas built in. Great stuff to do if you do take advantage of the counseling. Have that homework done before you meet with your counselor. It'll make that meeting, that conversation, even more meaningful. Hey, by the way, Karen Myers is active on our chat.
Yeah, I've been watching her shoot them up there. So thank you, Karen, for being in there. And Lana, thank you for everything you're doing as well.
Yeah, thank you, Lana, for those nice words.
All right, so we do have a few more minutes here. Do have a couple of questions. Please continue to ask them in here. But I have a very important question for you, Brent, and that's my question of that.
Chuck, if you have to ask, you don't need to know.
I told you we have to have a little bit of fun and a little bit of humor when it comes to this.
Chuck is a 12-year-old in a 50-year-old body.
Oh yeah.
That's why we love him.
Soon to be 52. My birthday is coming very, very soon.
Okay, that was the shameless plug.
It was, wasn't it? But it didn't, feel free. I do accept both Visa and MasterCard.
Please don't use Visa or MasterCard from the financial wellness guy.
That's right. Well, if you do, pay it off at the end of the month because you budgeted that Chuck birthday present into your budget, right?
There you go. Exactly right.
Sharif, thank you. I do look much younger, don't I? Sharif's making me happy right now. Chuck, I am presently a student that is having struggle about how to launch this file. I am planning to change my major because most jobs are asking for nursing and not health and wellness. Sharing, I understand that. It is a very interesting time to be in. And if I were to go through my education, my college time right now, I would probably be looking at a very similar move. I can tell you, I know of one university right now that is getting ready to launch an entire brand new health and wellness institute. I'm actually working with them right now. And they're going to be putting their wellness initiative and their whole institute in their school of business. And I am really excited about that. And I think it's going to be an interesting piece. Cameron, what resources would be available for employees who are retiring soon and may have just lost lots of money in their investments? Brent, you want to take that one?
Yeah, you bet. So thanks, Carmen. That's a great question. So what we're offering in this 5 Essentials, that's our flagship course. We have other courses and other, we take deeper dives in other topics and other fields of expertise. So, retirement planning is obviously a really common one. So when an employer brings us in, we almost always start with the 5 Essentials and then look at the demographics and the needs of their people. If they have quite a few that are maybe a little aging demographic, approaching retirement, something like, a recession just happened, a sell-off in the market, then we can bring in those courses that we have built having to do with that exact topic. So when I met Karen at NASA, we were teaching a class called Preparing for Transition for people who were facing layoffs or had just been laid off. We have classes around when markets sell off, now what? We have classes around preparing for retirement, as you're approaching. We have classes. We have a class, Chuck, I don't know if you've ever seen this one, in the estate planning world, where we have noticed through the years, it's a complicated and oftentimes awkward conversation for those people who are a named executor and the estate holder. So if you've been one or the other or both, having the ability to have a conversation facilitated so that the executor isn't like, hey, mom, dad, aunt, and uncle, let's talk about when you're out of here, how much money I inherit. But yet, and vice versa, mom, dad, aunt, and uncle, grandma, and grandpa not wanting, money's weird, all the head trash, not bring it up. So we built a class called Executors Boot Camp. And it's just that. It's preparing as an executor, and the price of admission is both of you have to attend, whether in person or online, the estate holder and the executor. It's that kind of stuff. So we have those. Sorry, Carmen, you asked a simple question. I kind of went off on a tangent. We love to teach on current topics, in terms of the calendar, seasonal. Right after the holidays, there's oftentimes people stressing out a bit about having overspent, or when they come back from preparing for vacation or coming back from summer vacation, tax season, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, we love teaching on specific topics.
Yep. Another quick question. It was asked privately to me, but I'll introduce it to everybody. As far as the free course is concerned, do we have to have it done by May, or is it just we have to get them registered and get started?
Registered by May. Yeah, we're not going to, yeah, exactly. We're not going to cut you off.
Exactly.
If you haven't, yeah, right.
All right, one more before we probably need to get moving, and I know there's a bunch of questions that have been asked in here, but I saw one that I'm trying to find it again, so I apologize. Give me a second. What advice do you have for an employer trying to offer financial wellness to give to employees who need to figure out how to recover from this situation and be able to start thinking about how to prepare for this future? That's what we're trying to do here. But what are some other things, Brent, that you think are critical?
So much easier to do if we were teaching in person versus online, because it's so easy for our certified educators. It just takes some tweaking. It's not a customized class, but I would say a tailored class. We take the same framework, the same chassis, and then really call out those core components that would be really important, especially in times of recession, market sell-off, market downturn, et cetera.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, like I said, it's amazing the number of questions that are coming through, and I wish we could get to all of them, and I apologize that we can't, because we try to keep these things as tight as we can move forward. Self-paced or weekly? It is a self-paced course. Should we take the course before we take the certification? The certification is part of the course, but here's what I will suggest to you. And again, I'm not going to lie, this is taking money out of Brent and my hands, but if you go ahead and take the 5 essentials for free, then we will be able to put that towards the certification course. So I would recommend going through this, and then that'll give us some time to actually register, get everything set up so that we can reduce the facilitator certificate course, because we want to see that completion before we give you the credit. All right. Brent, any final words, any final thoughts? I gave you mine.
No, we are crazy excited. Like, I have butterflies in my stomach. I love this decision we made. Buckle in. We're going to put a lot of people through this. We're going to love to see your feedback, guys, good, bad, both. It's just going to make us better. Bear with us. Like, this is probably going to test, and I'm expecting to come out with flying colors. It's going to test our technology, our infrastructure, but we beefed everything up. Like, we're ready for it. But you know, it's life. We're human. There's going to be a glitch here or there, but we're going to jump all over it. So
yep. I agree with you, Brent. And don't get too mad at us, for folks. For gosh sakes, it's free. There'll be a few things that are going on here, but know that we are. You know, this is definitely something that we have done in the past. It's not like this is a brand new course, but at the same time, there will be glitches. We are looking forward to doing that. And I will also let everybody know, I don't have it all set up yet, but our next Reimagining Wellness event is going to be April 30th, next Friday. And I can tell you that this one's going to be a very cool and interesting event. We're actually doing it with NWI's board president, Linda Howard, but she is bringing an entire group to be talking a lot about the spirituality of wellness and of multicultural competency. So I really do think you will enjoy that one as well. Brent, thank you so much for this today. I look forward to a whole lot of conversations over the next week or two with you.
Yeah.
And something else, and I'll also throw a teaser out to this group for you. Brent and I are also working on yet another program. Not going to be free, I'm not going to lie, but it's going to be a program that I think is going to be critical, especially as we come out of this period of time and into how you can help drive your own revenues and learn and grow through some servant selling programming. So more to come on that.
Awesome.
Thank you. Enjoy. Have a good
Thanks,
weekend.
Guys.
And thanks everybody for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Bob. Across the ocean.
Yes, thank you from
us.
the international folks. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah. All right.
Bye-bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Guys.